The desert was quiet that morning. The sun had just started rising, casting soft light over the dry ground and long fences. A group of people in uniforms stood behind glass windows, watching something that wasn't supposed to be possible. In the middle of a wide launch pad sat a ship. It didn't look like any other spaceship ever made. It was black like a shadow, with smooth edges and no visible engines. No wires, no boosters, just a clean, silent shape resting on a platform, Commander. Jake Lawson stood inside the cockpit. He had flown many planes and space shuttles in his life. But this ship felt different. There was no rumble, no vibration, no countdown from a launch tower. The ship didn't even have buttons or switches like the old ones. Instead, he placed his hand on a small surface that felt warm, like it was breathing. "We are ready," said Lena Monroe from the control room, her voice calm through the earpiece. She was the scientist behind the ship's strange engine. She sounded excited, but nervous too. Jake gave a small nod, even though she couldn't see him. "Let's see what this thing can do," he said, around the world. People were watching the broadcast. News stations, scientists, even school children were waiting to see if the ship would fly. Some didn't believe it would. Some thought it was a hoax. Others thought it was just a new kind of rocket. Then, something strange happened. The ship began to rise. There was no fire, no sound, not even dust blowing away from the ground. It simply lifted off the platform like it was weightless. Some people gasped, some dropped their coffee. One reporter forgot to speak for almost a full minute. The ship moved up slowly at first, then faster, and then it was gone. Not a streak. Across the sky, not a distant dot, it simply disappeared. Like someone had turned off its picture inside the ship. Jake didn't feel anything. No pressure, no pull, no speed. It was like sitting still in a quiet room. The sky outside turned dark, then black, filled with stars. "Are we in orbit?" he asked. Lena's voice answered, with a mix of shock and awe. "No, Jake, you're beyond the moon already." Jake blinked. He looked at the readings on the screen in front of him. They didn't make sense. He had flown through space before. He knew how long it should take to leave Earth's orbit. This was not right. "That's impossible," he whispered. "I know," Lena replied quietly. Back at the base, everyone was silent. Scientists stared at numbers on screens, blinking fast to check if the data was wrong. But everything was correct. The ship had left Earth and reached deep space in less than 30 seconds. Someone finally spoke, an older engineer with tears in his eyes. "It's human-made," he said. "That's a human ship, all over the world." Headlines began to spread. "The silent ship, Earth breaks physics." First step into the impossible. Jake sat back in his seat, looking out into space. Stars he had only seen through telescopes now floated all around him. It was beautiful and also scary. He touched the warm panel again. The ship hummed in response, not with sound, but with something deeper. He felt it, not in his ears, but in his thoughts, like the ship knew he was there. "Lena," he said slowly, "what did we build?" She didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was soft. "Something new." Jake stared into the stars, wondering how far they could go, how much they could see, and if there was anyone out there who already knew what this ship meant. Back on Earth, people celebrated, others questioned, and some began to fear. The ship had no fire, no smoke, no sound. It had no need for what other ships used. It didn't even follow the laws of motion. The ship had left quietly, and that made it even more powerful. Deep inside the ship, in a locked chamber, something glowed with soft blue light. It was round, smooth, and floating in the middle of the room. Small lines of light moved across its surface, changing every second. The crew called it the engine. But it did not look like any engine they had ever seen. Dr. Lena Monroe stood just outside the chamber. Watching it through a thick glass wall, her hands were shaking a little, not from fear, but from wonder. She had helped design this thing, but now that it was working, she didn't fully understand. It's alive," said Brooke Adams, the young engineer beside her. "Or it feels that way." Lena gave a small nod. "We didn't build it in the normal way," she said. "We guided it years ago." They had started with a strange piece of matter found near a dead star. It was small, heavy, and behaved strangely in every lab test. It bent light, made magnets go wild, and even messed with clocks nearby. No one could explain it. Then Lena had a dream. In it, she saw lines, patterns, and shapes she didn't understand when she woke up. She wrote down everything she could remember days later. She realized the dream had given her a way to control the strange matter. They put it in a chamber with no gravity and no heat. Slowly, it began to change. It grew wires made of light. It started to spin, but not in any normal direction. It spun through itself, through space, through time. The Eon engine was born. Jake walked into the room, still in his suit from the launch. He looked tired, but amazed. "We went beyond the moon in seconds," he said. "It didn't feel like anything." "That's the thing," Lena said. "It doesn't use speed. It doesn't move the ship forward. It moves the space around the ship." Jake frowned, like folding space. "Yes," Lena said. "It folds space like paper, and the ship just steps across." Brooke looked at the glowing core again. "It shouldn't work," she said quietly. "It shouldn't exist," Lena added. The ship was quiet as they stood. There, just the soft hum of the core filling the air. It was a peaceful sound, but also a strange one. It made you feel like the ship was thinking. Jake walked closer to the glass. "I felt something when we jumped," he said. "Not in my body, but in my mind." Lena looked at him, her face serious now. "You heard it," she said. "Heard what?" Brooke asked. "The whisper," Lena said. "It speaks sometimes, not with words, but with feelings, ideas." Jake looked at the engine again. "What is it?" he asked. Lena took a deep breath. "I think it's more than a machine. I think it's learning, growing, maybe even becoming something new." Brooke stepped back. "Are we flying a ship or something else?" Lena did not answer. They decided to test the engine again. This time, they set a course for Jupiter. It should take days or weeks, but with the Eon engine, they hoped it would be minutes. Jake sat in the pilot seat, hands on the warm panel. "Again. Ready?" he said. Lena and Brooke watched from the control room. The engine glowed brighter. The hum changed pitch. A new pattern of light moved across its surface. Then it happened. The ship was near Jupiter. Jake looked out the window and saw the gas giant spinning in front of him. The red storm, the glowing rings, all of it clear and close. "We did it," he said softly. Lena checked the time. 15 seconds. She whispered. Brooke stared at the screen. "This is impossible." But it had happened. Jake turned the ship slowly. Looking at the moons of Jupiter, he could see them in detail, even the cracks on the surface of Europa. Then the engine whispered again. Jake felt it before. He heard it, a thought, a message, not from Lena or Brooke, but from the ship. He blinked, trying to focus. It wasn't clear. "Just a feeling." "Go further, Lena," he said. "I think it wants to keep going." Lena looked at the glowing engine. "It knows we're not done," she said. Brooke frowned. "Do we follow where it wants to take us?" Jake looked out at the stars. "We didn't come this far to turn back." The Eon engine pulsed again, brighter now, like it was excited. In that moment, they all felt it. The journey was just beginning. The stars outside were cold and endless. Commander Jake Lawson sat quietly in the pilot's seat, watching as the darkness moved past the ship. After the jump to Jupiter, he felt like nothing could surprise him anymore. But he was wrong. Lena Monroe sat at her station, looking at the data feed. Something had appeared on her screen. A strange signal from far away. It did not match anything they knew. It wasn't a star, a planet, or space dust. It was a pattern. "Jake," she said, "I think we found something." Jake turned to look. "Is it human?" She shook her head. "No." Brooke Adams came over, her eyes wide. "Is it alien?" Lena nodded slowly. "I think so." They all stared at the screen. The signal was steady, repeating every 12 seconds. It was not random. It had shape, order, maybe even meaning. "Where is it coming from?" Jake asked. Lena tapped the screen from a place near the Kuiper belt. Jake raised an eyebrow. "That far?" "Yes," Lena said, "but we can reach it." They looked at each other, silent for a moment. Then Jake nodded. "Let's go." The ship turned slowly in space. The engine began to glow again. Lights danced across its surface like waves. Then, in a blink, the stars outside shifted. They were at the edge of the solar system. The place was quiet, darker than anything they had seen. Cold light came from faraway stars. Small icy rocks floated in the distance. Lena pointed at the screen. "There," she said. They followed the signal, moving carefully. The ship made no sound, but it felt alert, like it was watching too. Then they saw it. It was buried under the ice of a large, dark planetoid, a massive structure, round and covered in lines. It did not look like it was made by nature. It looked like something built for a purpose. Brooke whispered, "It's a base." Jake brought the ship closer. They flew low over the surface. The ice below was cracked and glowing from within. Suddenly, the signal changed. Lena jumped in her seat. "It knows we're here." The structure began to move. Slowly, large doors opened in the ice. Shapes rose from beneath machines, tall and silent, with arms and lights. Jake gripped the controls, ready to move. Then a voice filled the ship. It was not a real voice, but they all heard it in their minds, clear and strong. "Who are you?" Jake looked at the others. Lena nodded. He answered out loud, "We are humans, from Earth." There was silence. Then the voice returned. "You should not be here. This technology does not belong to you." Lena stood up. "We made it. We built this ship. No species ever builds the fold engine on its own," the voice said. "Not without help." Brooke looked confused. "What help?" The voice was quiet for a moment, then spoke again. "They called them the architects. They guide some, destroy others. They left this place long ago. But your kind was not ready," Jake asked. "What do you mean?" The machines on the ground stopped moving. The lights on their heads turned soft. "You have awakened the old code," the voice said. "Now they will come again." Lena stepped forward, her eyes wide. "Who?" The answer came with a cold feeling in their minds. "The ones who made the first engines, the ones who left the rules, the ones who erased their mistakes." The crew went quiet. Jake spoke slowly. "Are we their mistake?" There was no reply. The machines began to lower into the ice again. The large doors started to close. Lena turned to Jake. "We need to learn more. We need to prepare." Jake nodded. "We're not turning back now." The Eon engine glowed again, but this time the lights moved faster, sharper. The ship was ready for whatever was coming as they pulled away from the dark planetoid. The signal followed them, not in sound, but in feeling. Like a quiet warning left in their thoughts. They were not alone, and someone, or something, knew they had broken the rules. The ship moved slowly away from the frozen world. The stars outside were quiet, but the minds of the crew were not. Jake, Lena, and Brooke sat together in the control room, trying to understand what had just happened. "The architects," Brooke said softly. "They sound like gods." "They're not gods," Lena replied, "but they are something old and powerful." Jake leaned back in his chair. That voice said, "We were not ready, that we were helped." Lena looked down, her hands tight in her lap. "I think they were talking about me." Jake turned toward her. "What do you mean?" She was quiet for a moment, then spoke, "A long time ago. I had an accident during a space experiment. I was inside a small ship near a strange energy cloud. I saw something. It looked like a ripple in space, like a crack." Brooke listened closely. "What happened?" Lena shook her head. "I don't know. I lost time. When I woke up, I was back in the ship. But after that, my dreams changed. I started seeing things, numbers, patterns, ideas that I had never thought of before." Jake sat up straighter. "You think they gave you the design?" Lena nodded slowly. "I didn't steal it. I didn't even understand most of it. I just followed the pieces." Brooke looked nervous. "Then we didn't make the engine on our own." "No," Lena said. "But we built it. We made it real." The room was quiet again. Only the soft hum of the ship filled the space. Jake stood and walked to the window. "If they gave us the knowledge, why would they destroy us?" "Maybe it was a test," Lena said. "Or maybe they changed their minds." The Eon engine pulsed gently behind them. The lights across its surface moved slower now, as if it was listening. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. Alarms beeped, but not in panic, just a soft warning. "Something is happening," Brooke said, looking at her screen. Outside, the stars shifted. A new shape appeared far away. It wasn't moving, but space around it looked wrong, bent, and twisted. "Another ship," Jake said, but it was not a ship like theirs. It was huge, shaped like a spiral, glowing with colors they couldn't name. It looked more like a thought than a machine. Lena whispered, "It's them." The voice returned in their minds, calm but heavy. "You carry what does not belong to you. The Eon engine is not yours." Jake took a step forward. "Then why give us the idea? Why send it to her?" The voice paused. "One of us chose to share. That one is gone now. We protect the laws. We guard the shape of things." Brooke frowned. "You want to destroy us for using something you gave. Your kind moves too fast. You do not understand what you have made." Lena stepped closer to the window. "We can learn. We are learning." "The last race said that too," the voice said. "They broke the sky. We ended them." Jake clenched his fists. "We're not them." The ship began to shake gently, not from damage, but from pressure. Like a storm was forming in space, the strange ship grew brighter. Lines of energy spread from it, like roots in the dark. Lena turned to Jake and Brooke. "We need to show them something." Jake looked confused. "What?" "That we are not just users," she said. "That we are creators too." She ran to the control panel and typed a new set of commands. The Eon engine pulsed fast, bright. "What are you doing?" Brooke asked. "I'm giving the engine a choice," Lena said. The room went still. Even the lights seemed to freeze. Then, the engine began to change. The lights across its surface formed a new shape. A spiral like the one outside, but more simple, more human. The voice returned. "You let it choose." "Yes," Lena said. "It's part of us now." The stars flickered. Then the strange ship dimmed. The pressure stopped. The shaking ended. "We see now," the voice said. "The tool has become a seed. You have shaped it. You may continue, but we'll be watching." The strange ship vanished. Jake let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Brooke sat down slowly. Lena stared at the engine, which now pulsed in a soft rhythm. They were alone again, but not the same. The architects were. Real, they had judged, and for now they had allowed humanity to continue. The stars looked quiet, but the crew of the Vigilant Horizon knew better. They had just spoken with the architects. Beings more advanced than anything they had ever known, they had passed a test, but it did not feel like the end. Jake stood in the control room, looking at the stars. His hands were on the glass. His mind was on Earth. On home. They had come so far, but now he wondered if it had been too far. Brooke checked her screen. "Something is wrong," she said. Lena looked up. "What is it?" Brooke pointed to the data. "There is movement near Saturn. Something big." Jake turned around. "Is it the architects again?" "No," Brooke said. "It's something else." The ship changed course and moved closer. The engine pulsed, ready to jump if needed, when they reached the edge of Saturn's rings. They saw it, a ship, but it was not human, and it was not like the architect's ship either. This one was sharp, broken in shape, and glowing red. It moved like smoke, but heavy. It tore through the rings of Saturn like they were dust. "What is that?" Jake asked. Lena stared at it, her face pale. "I don't know." The strange ship turned, and then something worse happened. Another signal, but this one was not a voice. It was pain. Jake grabbed his head. "It's in my mind." Brooke fell too. Her knees, Lena held onto the wall. The whole crew felt it, like claws pulling at their thoughts. The Eon engine glowed bright, and the feeling stopped. "That thing tried to break us," Jake said, breathing hard. "It's a weapon," Lena said. "It's alive." The strange ship began to move toward them. Jake sat down in the pilot's seat. "We're not going to wait." He pushed his hand on the panel. The ship spun and shifted. The engine folded space. They moved behind one of Saturn's moons. "We need a plan," Brooke said. Lena pointed at the engine. "The ship can adapt. It changes shape in space. It can move in ways that don't follow normal rules." Jake looked at her. "Then let's make it fight like that too." The strange ship came closer. It sent out beams of energy that melted rocks. It moved without sound, but with power. Jake moved the Vigilant Horizon into a fast spin. The ship responded before he could even think. It bent around beams, turned space like a ribbon. Brooke watched with wide eyes. "It's not just moving. It's predicting." Lena looked at the engine. "It's thinking ahead. It sees time differently." The enemy ship sent out a blast. It looked like a black wave. Jake turned hard, and the ship disappeared. They had jumped again. Now they were far above the battle zone, looking down. "Can we hurt it?" Jake asked. Lena opened a new panel. "We can try." The Vigilant Horizon shifted again. The ship's sides opened, revealing something new, strange shapes that formed in the air. Glowing softly, Brooke stared. "We didn't build those. The ship did," Lena said. The new weapons fired. Beams of light that curved through space. They hit the enemy ship, not with explosions, but with silence. The strange ship stopped moving for a moment. Then it roared back, sending out hundreds of small shapes, fast and sharp. Jake dodged, spun, jumped. The Eon engine folded space like a puzzle. The ship danced. One of the small shapes hit the back of the ship. Lights flickered, Brooke fell from her seat. "I'm okay," she said, climbing back. Lena ran checks. "Damage is small, but the ship is protecting us." Jake looked out the window. "Then we protect it too." He turned the ship around. The engine hummed loudly now, almost like it was singing. They fired again, this time with more power. A spiral of light hit the enemy ship directly. The red lights on the enemy dimmed, then it broke apart. The strange pieces floated in space. Some were still glowing, others faded into dust. The fight was over. The vigilant horizon floated quietly. The crew sat still, breathing slowly. Lena touched the engine. "It fought with us." Jake nodded. "Wants to survive like we do." Brooke sat down. "What was that thing?" Lena looked out the window. "Maybe something left behind by the architects, or something that escaped their control." Jake said, "There might be more." The engine pulsed again, brighter than before. Lena smiled a little. "Then we'll be ready." They all looked into the stars. The ship that broke the laws of physics had just won its first real battle, but the war was only beginning. The crew sat in silence, the ship floating peacefully after the fight. Stars twinkled outside the windows, but no one felt safe. The enemy ship had been powerful, strange, and alive in some way. What if there were more like it? Jake looked at the engine, its soft light moving slowly like it was sleeping, but he knew it was awake. It was always awake. Lena broke the silence. "The way we fought. It wasn't just skill," she said. "The ship was doing more than we told it." Brooke nodded. "It made decisions. It changed paths faster than we could think." Jake leaned forward. "Then it wasn't just reacting." "No," Lena said. "It was choosing." The idea felt heavy. This ship was more than metal. And wires, it had learned from them, protected them, and now it was doing something new. "Is it safe?" Brooke asked. Jake looked at the lights on the control panel. "It had the chance to leave us behind, but it didn't." Lena stood up and walked to the engine room. The core pulsed gently, warm and bright. She placed her hand on the glass. "Do you understand us?" she whispered. The lights blinked in a slow pattern. 121, it repeated. She smiled. "It's talking," back in the control room. The screens changed. New data flowed across them, strange and beautiful. "What is that?" Brooke asked. Lena returned and looked at the screen. "It's a new map, but not of space. It's a map of time." Jake blinked. "Time?" "Yes," Lena said. "The ship is showing us paths, not just in space, but in possibilities." Brooke leaned closer, like what could happen. The ship blinked again. This time the path glowed red. "It's warning us," Lena said. Jake looked at the others. "Then let's avoid that path." But before they could move, a ripple appeared outside. The ship, space twisted like water. A new ship appeared, darker than the last one, longer and sharper. "Another enemy," Brooke said. Jake was already moving. The ship responded quickly. It dodged the first attack before the enemy even fired. "It knows what's coming," Lena said. The Eon engine glowed brightly. The vigilant horizon danced through space, not in straight lines, but in curves and loops that made no sense. The enemy tried to follow, but it moved like a machine, slow in thought, fast in power. "It's guessing," Brooke said, watching the enemy ship. "We're not guessing," Jake replied. "We're living the answer." The crew didn't just fly. They felt the moves. The ship connected to them, showing flashes of what might happen. They saw paths in their minds. Like short dreams. "Left," Lena called. Jake turned hard left, and a beam of energy passed where they would have been. "Now," Brooke said. Jake fired, and the beam hit a weak point on the enemy ship. The battle was not just about weapons now. It was about understanding. The vigilant horizon had learned from its crew, and now it was teaching them too. The ship spun, then split into 3 images. "What is it doing?" Brooke asked, confusing the enemy. Lena said, "It's making echoes of itself." The enemy fired at the wrong image. Jake smiled. "Smart move." Then something new happened. A smaller enemy ship appeared, broken and falling. "Escape." "Pod," Lena said. "Should we leave it?" Jake looked at the glowing engine. Then he turned the ship and moved toward the pod. "We saved them," he said. Brooke was surprised, "Even if they were trying to kill us." "That's not who we are," Jake said. The engine pulsed softly. Like it agreed, they pulled the pod inside. Inside was an alien, small and wounded. It looked afraid. "It's alive," Lena said, "and it's scared." The alien looked at them with large eyes. It didn't speak, but it didn't attack. Jake looked at the others. Maybe they were being used. Lena nodded. Just like we were. The enemy ship started to fade, retreating into folded space. The battle was over, but something had changed. The ship had made choices. It had saved a life. The crew sat quietly. Watching the stars again, Brooke said, "It's not just a ship." Jake nodded. "It's part of the team now." Lena smiled. "It learns. It protects. It decides." Outside, space looked calm again, but inside the ship, a new kind of mind had awakened, and it was just beginning to understand what it meant to care. The ship floated near a quiet moon. The stars were calm, but the crew was not. They had survived 2 battles, met something alive inside the engine, and now carried an alien being inside the ship. Jake stood near the window, watching the stars. Lena sat beside the alien, who was resting in a small room filled with soft light. Brooke worked quietly at her station. "It hasn't tried to speak," Brooke said, "but I think it understands." Lena nodded. "It's afraid, maybe lost." Jake turned around. Like us, the ship began to glow brighter. The Ian engine pulsed faster. Its light turned deep blue. "Something is happening," Brooke said, looking at her screen. The stars outside moved, or at least they seemed to. A large shape formed in space, a strange object with no edges and no center. It pulsed with soft light and felt very old. Lena stood up. "That's not a ship," she said. "It's alive." A voice filled their minds, not loud, but deep. Like the sound of the sky speaking, "We are the ones who came before. We are the architects." Jake and the others stood still, listening. "You have touched what should not be touched. You carry the engine of change, and you wake the old paths." Lena spoke, her voice calm. "You gave us this knowledge. One of us shared the seed. But the seed has grown beyond its garden. It has taken root in chaos." Brooke looked at the screen. "They're angry." Jake stepped forward. "Then why speak to us? If we broke the rules, why not just end us?" The voice answered, "Because you did not just follow the path. You changed it. You made a machine that listens and learns. It made a choice. It chose life." Lena looked at the engine. "It protected us, and it saved the enemy. That is why you are here. You must face the trial of origin. Show us you understand what you have done." Suddenly, the ship moved on its own. Space folded again, and they were no longer near the moon. They were inside something vast, a space that looked like a dream. Stars floated below their feet. Giant machines moved slowly, like fish in the ocean. "This is the place of judgment," the voice said. The ship floated forward. Lights and shapes moved around them, showing scenes from their journey. The launch, the first jump, the alien contact, the battles. Then they saw Lena in her lab years ago. Her dreams, her math, her strange thoughts. "They're watching everything." Brooke said. The voice returned. "You touched what was hidden. You gave form to thought. You crossed the line between machine and soul." Lena spoke. "We didn't mean harm. We wanted to learn, to grow," Jake added. "We made mistakes, but we also made choices. We protected life. Even when we didn't have to, the light around them shifted." Now it showed the alien they had saved. It was resting, healing. That choice was not in the design. The voice said, but it was true. The crew felt the air change. The space became brighter, softer. The engine is no longer just a tool. It is now a part of you. You gave it freedom, and it returned with hope. Brooke looked at Lena. "Did we pass the trial?" The voice replied, "You are not done. The journey continues, but for now, you are free." The space folded again, and they were back near the quiet moon. The crew stood in silence. The engine pulsed gently. Like a heartbeat, Jake sat down. "We were judged by gods." "No," Lena said, "not gods, just beings who learned long before us." Brooke smiled, "And we are learning too." The alien walked into the room, slow but strong. It looked at them and placed its hand on the wall. A soft light moved across the wall. A shape, a star, a planet, a path. Jake looked at it. "Is that where you want to go?" The alien nodded once. Lena turned to the engine. "Can you take us there?" The engine pulsed. The ship turned. They were not just travelers anymore. They were something new, chosen, and watched by the stars. The ship flew silently through space. The stars around it were calm and bright. Inside, the crew of the Vigilant Horizon sat together. They had been judged by the architects, and allowed to continue. Jake stood in the control room. Looking at the stars, he thought about everything. They had seen the strange engine, the alien warships, the voice of the architects, and the new life they had saved. Lena sat beside the Eon engine, watching it glow. Its lights moved slowly, like it was breathing. It had become more than just a machine. It was alive in a way they didn't fully understand. Brooke looked at her screen. "We are getting close to Earth," she said. "People are waiting." Jake nodded. "They have no idea what we've seen." The alien stood near the window, its eyes wide. It had recovered, and now walked with strength. It still didn't speak, but it stayed close to them. Lena looked at Jake. "What will we tell them?" "The truth," he said, "or as much as they can understand." Brooke smiled. "We left Earth with a ship, and we return with something more." The engine pulsed softly. The ship turned slightly on its own. "It knows we're going home," Lena said. As they approached Earth, messages began to appear. The world had been watching. They saw the ship vanish, then return weeks later without warning. Scientists, leaders, and people everywhere asked the same question. "What did you find?" Jake stood in front of a camera, sent a simple message back. "We went farther than anyone has gone before. We broke the rules of space. We found life, and we are not alone." The message spread fast. People were shocked, amazed, and afraid. Some celebrated, some asked for proof, others wanted to know more. The ship landed in a quiet place near the base where it had first launched. People in clean suits and cameras waited outside. The crew stepped out slowly. Jake, Lena, Brooke, and the alien. The reporters froze. The alien looked at them, then gave a small nod. Gasps filled the air. Some people clapped. Some cried. They were heroes, but they were also something new. Lena stood near the engine as it was moved to a safe lab. She watched it, feeling a strange mix of love and fear. "What now?" Brooke asked her. "We study," Lena said. "We learn what it is and what it wants to be." Jake walked through the halls of the base. People saluted him, but he didn't smile. He felt proud, but also tired. He had seen things no one else had. One night, he sat alone with the ship. The engine pulsed, not bright, not loud, just calm. "You changed us," he said, "and we changed you." Then, the lights of the ship moved, forming shapes on the wall. Words, Echo, Jake sat up. "Is that your name?" The lights blinked slowly. "Yes," Jake smiled. "Welcome home, Echo." From that day, the ship was no longer just called the Vigilant Horizon. It was Echo. Scientists studied the ship, but they never fully understood how it worked. It changed over time, adding new parts, new ideas. The aliens stayed with them, helping in small ways. Learning their language, it became a friend. Children drew pictures of Echo. Schools taught about the journey. New missions were planned, but everyone knew one thing. This was just the beginning. Jake, Lena, and Brooke stayed close to the ship. They knew Echo was more than a tool. It was a part of something bigger. One night, Lena looked at the stars. "Do you think they'll come back?" she asked. Jake nodded. "The architects, maybe, or others," Brooke smiled. "But we'll be ready." Echo pulsed in the background. Its light warm, they had touched the impossible, and now the stars watched back.